All right, let's get right into it. We're about to tell a story. Not just any story. It's about the biggest, most complicated machine on the entire planet, and how, in just 120 seconds, it just turned itself off. And no, this isn't some sci-fi movie. This actually happened on a scorching hot afternoon back in July of 2012.
So let's talk stakes. Look at this number, 670 million. That's how many people were about to be plunged into total darkness. To put that in perspective for you, that's more than the entire population of the European Union, all of them, losing power, at the exact same moment.
And this is the machine, the Indian power grid. Now you gotta understand, this isn't just a bunch of power plants and wires. Think of it as one single living thing, a continent-sized machine, a mechanical titan, where every single part is supposed to beat in perfect sync, like a heart. Well, until it didn't.
Okay, so a collapse like this doesn't just happen out of the blue. For a long time before the lights actually went out, the system, well, it was basically screaming for help. There was a delayed monsoon, which meant farmers everywhere were cranking up their water pumps, power demand was through the roof, the entire grid was stretched so thin, it was literally balanced on a knife's edge.
So to really get a feel for that stress, we have to talk about one thing, grid frequency. The easiest way to think about it, it's the machine's heartbeat. I mean it. For this whole massive system to work, every single generator, from the mountains to the sea, has to spin in perfect time with every other one. They have to maintain this steady, stable pulse, a constant frequency.
And this right here, this is just incredible. This is a look at the heartbeat in the hours right before the whole thing went down. Just look at that data. The line is all over the place. It's erratic, it's stuttering, and it's dipping so close to 49.5 hertz. Now in the world of power grids, that's not just some number. That's the edge of a cliff. You get there and you're about to go over.
So imagine you're the person in the control room. You are in a totally impossible spot. It's what they call the ministerial paradox. You've got the laws of physics yelling in one ear. The frequency is dropping. The grid is overheating. You have to cut power now or the whole thing is going to die. But in your other ear, you've got the laws of politics saying, hey, it's a hot afternoon. Hospitals, government buildings, they need power. You can't cause a panic. What do? I mean, seriously, how do you even make that choice?
Well, it turns out they didn't have to make a choice. Because deep inside this massive, sprawling network, the machine decided to make the choice for them. The very first domino is just about to tip over.
Okay, look at this timeline. The speed is just breathtaking. At 12:58 p.m., the system is groaning under the strain. Then at 2 seconds past 1 o'clock, a single super important line just trips. And by 1:02 p.m., it's over. The whole thing's gone. 2 minutes. That's it. 120 seconds is all it took.
So what actually happened to that line? It wasn't a lightning strike, it wasn't a tree falling on it. It was something called load encroachment. And it's actually pretty simple. The line was just too full of electricity. Way too much power was trying to cram through. And a little safety device, no bigger than a toaster, saw this insane surge and thought, whoa, that looks like a catastrophic short circuit. So it did exactly what it was designed to do. It slammed on the brakes and cut the line to protect all the other expensive gear.
And listen, this isn't just us guessing. This is a fact. The official investigation came to the exact same conclusion. You can read it right there in the final report, page 78. Quote, it appears to be a case of load encroachment. The system's own safety feature, the thing designed to protect it, ended up being the trigger for its total destruction. You can't make this stuff up.
Because once that one line was gone, the whole grid just plunged into a death spiral. It set off a chain reaction that once it got going, there was no human operator on Earth who could have stopped it.
This analogy just nails the problem. Imagine all that electricity as traffic on a 10-lane superhighway. When that one line tripped, it was like a giant roadblock appeared. Suddenly, all that power, we're talking 5,000 megawatts, had nowhere to go. It swerved, desperately trying to find a detour, but the only detour was a little 2-lane bridge. It was never going to work.
So here's how the death spiral worked. It's this 3-step cascade. First, all that power, now basically homeless, just floods onto the eastern part of the grid. Step 2, those lines can't handle it. They immediately overload, they physically sag, and then they start tripping themselves offline too. And then step 3, the killer blow, something called a power swing.
The generators out west have way too much power, so they start spinning too fast, but the generators up north are starved for power, so they're slowing down. They're not beating together anymore. They're totally out of sync.
And this graph, wow, this is the smoking gun. This shows what's called angular separation. That's just the fancy term for the generators falling out of sync. You can see it clear as day. The red and blue lines, they represent the two different parts of the grid, and they just violently rip apart from each other. That black line shooting straight up, that's the visual proof. That's the machine literally tearing itself apart in real time.
Okay, but wait. The system had one last shot, one final line of defense. There was a built-in, automated emergency brake system designed for this exact scenario. It was supposed to kick in and save the day. These brakes are called under-frequency relays, or UFRs, and their job is really simple. When they see that heartbeat, the frequency, dropping dangerously low, they're supposed to automatically start cutting power to less important areas. It's called load shedding. It's painful, but it's meant to save the rest of the grid. The problem? In 2012, this last line of defense, it just wasn't there. The official report found that a lot of these relays had been turned off, they were poorly maintained, or there just weren't enough of them to stop a tidal wave this big.
So, with the emergency brakes gone, there was nothing left. Nothing to stop the fall. This graph is just chilling. It shows the very last moments. You can see the frequency trying to hang on for just a couple of seconds, and then nothing. Just a straight line down. Free fall. A total, complete, irreversible collapse.
And just like that, all the noise of the grid, you know, that constant hum of transformers, the whine of spinning turbines, it all just stopped. And it was replaced by this weird, unnatural silence that just spread like a wave across half a continent.
1:02 p.m. That was it. The exact moment the lights went out for 670 million people. And in that instant, the modern world just stopped. Think about it. No elevators, no traffic signals, which means instant chaos in the streets. Hundreds of trains, just dead on the tracks. For so many people, no power for pumps meant no running water. And on a sweltering hot July day, no fans, no AC, no cooling whatsoever.
I mean, this quote really says it all, doesn't it? The largest machine ever built by man had just turned itself off. In just 120 seconds, this absolute marvel of engineering, the thing that powers modern life for a tenth of all people on Earth, had just decided it was done. It shut itself down.
And that really leaves you with a pretty big question, right? We completely depend on these massive, invisible machines every single second of every day. But what this story really shows is that they're operating on this razor-thin edge. So it really makes you think, just how fragile is this whole thing we've built?